I just wanted to say a massive thank you to Marcus for agreeing to have this chat with me. I'm going to ask him a little bit about trombone life, things in general. Thanks, a massive thanks in advance, Marcus. Looking forward to it very much.
Hello, Marcus. Good to see you.
Hi, Ben.
How's it going?
Yeah, it's good.
It's really bizarre at the
busy,
moment.
really.
I was just going to say it's really bizarre at the moment with this Corona thing happening. Are you managing to stay busy and keep as normal as possible at the moment?
I decided at the beginning there's two ways to play this. You can either go back to bed and suck your thumb under the duvet and hope it'll all blow over. You know, the sort of
I think there's plenty
ostrich
that
factor.
I think there's plenty that are doing that.
But I felt a responsibility because a few months ago I started the only embouchure group in the world called Brass Embouchure Advice. And now there's nearly 600 members. I feel there's a responsibility to say to them, you know, keep the playing up, because when a gig does come in, you won't knock your chops together in a couple of hours.
No, absolutely.
You need to keep at it.
Yeah, indeed. Cool. So let's start at the very beginning. You appeared on my radar about 20 years ago. And when I was, that's a long time, I can't even remember what I was doing 5 minutes ago. 20 years ago, when I started at the Royal Welsh College of Music and Drama, and there was a guy in my year playing trombone from Cornwall, and I was at his house, you know, just socially, and he brought out a couple of his CDs, and he said, "Have you heard of this chap?" And I looked at it and said, "No, I'm not heard of him," and he's just stuck them on there, and it was a trombone sound that I'd not really heard very many people have used before, and it was a couple of Marcus Reynolds albums. So he got, I think it was he met you in Cornwall. I think he bought these CDs from you in Cornwall, and so my first question comes from that chap, and what's your the question is, what's your favourite song to play? And I think it was really referring to those albums that you recorded. I mean, 20 plus years ago it must have been, I guess, Marcus. So what was your favourite back then? Is that putting you on the spot?
Well, my favourite album. No, I mean, not really. Well, funny enough, I've just assembled all the CDs.
Right.
Because since people have been finding me on YouTube, they've said, "Oh, can I buy a CD?" Well,
amazing.
I run it right down, so I've got all the masters out.
Oh, brilliant.
Ready to press a couple, but I can't believe I've been asked. Really, I suppose. No, seriously. I wasn't trying to play to musicians.
Yeah.
I wasn't trying to impress anybody, really. And after my accident, I didn't think I was very good. So I sort of buried myself away and lost track of, if this sounds a bit funny, I lost track of what good was, because I was playing in a totally different genre to what I was when I was a session player.
Yeah. So
I didn't really, until people started coming up to me and said, "Oh, my mate plays a trombone or a trumpet, and they don't sound nothing like that." And I started to realise I developed this inner core sound that moves people's hearts, as opposed to just being musically clever. Does that make sense?
I think so. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I think Mike had 3 of your albums, Marcus. Forgive me, I don't know how many of them did you do?
Were they cassettes or were they?
They were CDs. They were CDs.
Okay. The first one I brought out was "Slip Sliding Away," and that was on cassette.
Right.
And somebody wrote to me the other day and said, they've still got the cassette and they still play it,
Yeah.
but it's got a bit
Yeah.
so could
Yeah,
they buy a
absolutely.
CD?
Brilliant.
So this is my first
Right.
CD,
Yeah, I recognise that cover.
Slip Sliding Away.
Yeah, absolutely.
The second one I brought out was over altruistic. I wanted to bring the only Celtic album out on trombone that exists in the world.
Yeah.
And that's there.
Yeah.
And my daughter's on that.
Oh, brilliant.
And she's still singing
Yeah.
on SoundCloud and stuff. And then I realised that was so niche. I might not sell many of these.
Yeah.
So I brought out Wind Beneath the Wings at the same time. It cost a fortune.
So those three are the albums that Mike had at college. So from those albums, then, Marcus, what's the absolute your absolute favourite thing to play on there?
I'll have to do two. We go to the Celtic album. I did a lot of radio interviews for the Celtic album when I brought this out, because I was in the shopping centres then, and W.H. Smith helped me sell them, and it was pretty good. I've done one. It is so difficult, because when you're working on them, you're putting your heart and soul into them.
Absolutely, I totally get that.
I learn all the tracks.
Yeah.
So I don't use any music in the studio to block the heart. I don't want anything mechanical there. I don't want to look at notes.
Yeah, of course.
But what I do have is a picture of the album cover. And a couple of times I stopped playing and the engineer said, "What's the matter?" I said, "It's not green enough. It's not wet enough." He went, what do you mean it's not green enough? I said, it's not in the genre of what I want to portray. And I think one of the numbers on here is My Heart Will Go On. I know it's been played a lot, but I had 200 people stood around me in the shopping centre in Southampton, and the applause was just phenomenal. And they cleared me out. So they bought every CD I'd had.
Right.
And then The Wind Beneath My Wings. Oh, this is nearly everyone you look at. There's some magic stuff. Wind Beneath My Wings, which is on YouTube. So you could refer to Wind Beneath the Wings. And that had some crazy ideas in it, because when I'm performing and I get away from the music, I just let it go. If it's a wrong note or a semitone difference or a minor note, I just let it go, because it's the passion, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so probably I Dreamed a Dream, All I Ask of You. Oh, yeah, there's some great numbers on there that I came along and trombonized.
Absolutely. It all sounds great. I absolutely love it. I think probably Mike, who asked that question, would probably agree with My Heart Will Go On. I think Mike tried to emulate your playing for. I think he had a friend's leaving do once, and he played that to his friend at a pub he worked at in Cornwall. So I think that was probably one of Mike's.
Well, I know we didn't mention this album, but my favourite album was my last album.
Right.
And it cost a fortune. I was touring Sweden and Denmark, and I kept popping into the studio at 6 o'clock in the morning, and then went off on tour with the Blues Brothers. And I know him so well. And I kept stopping, and the engineer said, "What's the matter?" I go, "Well, I can't hear the girls' voices." He said, "You're a trombone player." No, I said, I've emulated the sound of the female voices, and it's not coming over right. And another sort of, "What? You're a trombone player?" So I have conveyed a lot in here, and there's a couple of magic things about the album. I think my lips were getting better. I was learning to overcome the scar tissue.
Yeah.
So I was getting more lyricism. and the range certainly improved.
Right. Really cool. Marcus, I mean, you've been playing trombone for a long time. I just want. Sorry, I wondered when or how you got started, how old you were. There's a lot of people generally these days start at school in kind of year 4. But I don't know how much you know about Christian Lindbergh. I believe he started when he was playing. Started playing when he was about 21. I just wondered where, how old you were, and what actually got you started playing.
Well, on a sad note, as a very young baby, I died with asthma.
Right.
I died with a respiratory disease called asthma, and they obviously brought me back to life.
Yeah, brilliant.
And then I did it again.
Oh, blimey!
This dying thing. Oh, I'll have another go at it. And when I recovered, my father was told. I was older then. I died the first time as a baby, and then the next time I think I was about 10, something like that.
Right.
So my doctor told my dad, get him a trumpet.
Yeah.
And Dad said, I'm not having a trumpet in the house. I'm a fan of Chris Barber. And Chris Barber, for those that you don't know, was an eminent, and he still is, an eminent traditional jazz player.
Yeah.
Phenomenal trombone player. And so it was a trombone. So he got me a really cheap trombone from a magazine all them years ago. This was a paper version of eBay called The Exchange in Mart. Yeah. For about 20 quid, which was a fortune in them days. And I started just blowing on it. I started just blowing on this trombone with no with no real direction, no lessons, just to help me with my lungs.
Yeah, of course.
And everyone, these cat and dog, tried to teach me X this, X that. Oh, I'm an accordion player. I'll have a go. I'll teach him. So I've had some of the worst tuition in the world. And then I decided my schooling was bad because of being in oxygen tents and hospitals recovering
of course.
physiotherapy, that I would join the army and learn the instrument properly.
Right. And
I joined the army at 15 and a half. And blow me down, 2 years later, I won a scholarship for the Royal Military School of Music, Nella Hall.
Yeah.
That changed my life, that did.
Right.
That changed my life.
And who was teaching you at Nella Hall at that time?
Well, we didn't get on great, actually. Professor Teskey, he wanted me to become, to follow his footsteps in the Royal Ballet.
Right.
What happened was, when I first joined Nella Hall, he auditioned me and put me on 34th trombone. If anybody knows about Nella Hall, there's 250 musicians on a big bandstand called The Rock. And incidentally, they're going to pull it down soon.
Okay.
And because of our world situation, we were going to have a final march past, because Nella Hall's been going since 1600 and something. And it was developed because of all the bands played for Queen Victoria, all in different keys, and she was not amused. So Nella Hall was formed to get a standardization in the military music.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
So I was on 34th trombone because Teskey didn't like the idea. I wanted a Dorsey sound. Anyway, he went off illness or went on tour, and we got this new guy called Dennis Baton, ex-captain of the military, and he said, I need to get to know all the students very quickly. Play me something. So I struggled with this horrible tutor called the La Fosse,
right?
The French Paris Conservatoire.
Yeah.
Oh God, horrible book. He said, "What are you doing?" And the book's falling over, and I was very nervous. I was very nervous with lack of oxygen, and the asthma made me a very nervous boy. He said, "No, just play me something. Just pick the trombone up and play me something." I thought, oh, right, okay. So I rattled this tune off, And he come from his desk. He said, "Are you new? Are you new on the rock?" I went, "No." I said, "I've been here for so many months, and I just played Sentimental Over You, and it was blemish free. It was lovely." And he phoned up the head in charge of the Trombones, called him to the office, and asked me to play it again. Well, I didn't play it as well that time. and then he said, "When we next go on to a concert, meet me at the end of the Trombones." Well, I was down there anyway, 34th.
Yeah.
So he said, "Follow me." And he made all the trombones stand up, and he marched me in front of all of them. All of them. Past the thirds, past the bass trombones, past the thirds, past the seconds. I thought, wow, if I make it to the, one of the top stands, I'll be thrilled. Keep walking, keep walking. Jiggs Jaeger, the colonel, is waiting to conduct, but he'd been told about it. And they sat me next door, Gordon Campbell.
Oh, brilliant.
There's two top trombones, Gordon Campbell and Henry Hardy. Henry Hardy is now the professor of Nella Hall.
Right.
Trombone.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know where he'll go when it's pulled down. And that really shook me up, thinking, I could play this instrument if I put a bit more time and effort in.
Don't we all? Yeah, absolutely. Brilliant.
I got promoted very shortly after that in the military, and I got my own room, and I made a mute so I could play late at night. And I kept playing Tutti's trombones and all the that was my first record I bought before I had a record player. So I bought this record, but I had nothing to play it on. And somebody lent me a record player at the college, at the School of Music. And I kept emulating Herbie Green, Dick Nash, Don Lusher, Herbie Green, Dick Nash, Don Lusher. And I think when I brought the albums out, I think that core sound, this very warm ballad sound, has stayed with me.
Yeah, absolutely. Going back to the asthma thing, there's a lot of people that were kind of prescribed a trumpet at a certain period of time. And I know I don't know if you know the name Bob Hughes. I'm sure you know of Bob from he was in the London the LSO bass trombone. When he was young, he had asthma, and his doctor said, right, you need to go and play a trumpet. He went and spoke to the master of music at his school to look in the cupboard, and there was only a trombone. He said, "There you go, Hughes, get on with that."
Right.
And the rest, as they say, is history. So yeah, I mean, I think, I don't know.
We're talking about Bob, aren't we?
Yes, yeah, Bob Hughes, yeah.
Bass trombone.
Yeah.
Bob Hughes, yeah.
I don't know when the kind of more medical side took over from prescribing trombones and trumpets, but I had issues with asthma when I was young, and it just so happened that I started playing trombone, and actually I've not had any issues with it since. So it's quite a useful tool.
Amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
After I went to I come off the army, and without going into too many details, I got discharged for medical problems, and this is unbelievable. I did my first audition and got the job. I joined one of the best big bands in the country. They'd been on the radio that morning, called the Ken Macintosh Orchestra.
Right. And
prior to that, I'd done a pantomime for Sam Watmo, who was the trombone player with Joe Loss. And he said, I'll give you this job, but there's someone in the band that will report back to me how you're doing. And if you do a good job, I'll get you this big audition. And I got the audition. I got the job. I had 4.5 years apprenticeship playing with some of the best trombone players in the world. Derek Tinker used to come in Dep. Billy Graham, not the evangelist, he used to come in deputised. And I was in charge of the deputies. And then...
Amazing.
And then Derek Tinker said to me one night, I'm in 3 months' time or something for Clive for a few days. I'm not playing these solos. I went, oh, who is then? He said, you are. I went, what? And yeah, so he said, if you don't go to the pub, he said, I'll give you some tips because you're playing these solos in 2 months' time or whatever. So I did. With Derek Tinker sat beside me. He showed me some tricks that I'd never got from the books, never got from any of my teachers.
Yeah.
Just clever little tricks. Don't ever play that note close to that note in that position.
Right.
Never take a breath around them notes. All them sort of things.
Yeah, of course.
And it turned me into a lead trombone player.
Brilliant.
And a soloist. And when he used to come in subsequently, we'd split lead. So there I was at 20, 23, 24, about the same age of what Tom is, the lead trombone with Sid Lawrence. We went pro at the same time. And I don't know if you know Tom, Sid Lawrence. Brilliant player. Right.
No, don't know that name, I'm afraid.
Well, he was 22 when he got, you know, in the business.
Yeah.
And I was 22 when I got my first pro job.
Yeah. So you've mentioned a load of names, Marcus, and I just wondered if you've got from any genre a favourite trombone player or a couple of favourite trombone players, sort of that either that are alive or not, sadly no longer with us.
Well, yeah, I went to 2 or 3 clinics with Bill Watrous.
Yeah.
I was I was teaching at quite a high level then as well in Surrey, and there's a lady that writes for Faber and Faber called Pamela Wedgwood.
Yes,
and
yeah.
I did all. Yeah, you know her.
Yes, yeah, of course.
French woman. And I did all her teaching for her while she was having babies, while she was having Ollie. I've forgotten the other guy's name. Sam, Ollie and Sam.
Right.
So that was great. That gave me quite a high profile. So much so that I was headhunted by Charterhouse to be head of brass, and I turned it down. I didn't think I'd ever be not busy as a player. I was playing with everybody, playing everywhere. I'd have been retiring now on a very nice pension. Anyway, I went to see Bill Watrous 2 or 3 times, and because there was always different things happening at these festivals, you know, after he'd finished his masterclass clinic, they went off and to see another trombone player.
Yeah. I
just sat in the room transfixed. I couldn't leave the room. And he come over, he says, "What's going on there?" I said, Mr. Watrous, I said, "You've blown my mind." He said, it's Bill. He said, "I'll show you a couple of things to piss people off." I said, "What?" He said, so he gave me a 1-to-1. Bill Watrous gave me a 1-to-1.
That's quite cool.
And he showed me this trick. Something like this.
That's quite impressive.
Thank you, Mr. Watrous. Bill. He showed me how to do that.
That's quite clever, Marcus, but when do you ever use that?
Well, you won't believe it, but I've been playing solos occasionally, and I do try not to use the music. You know, Sentimental Over You.
Yes, yeah, of course.
The Tommy Dorseys and all that. I don't use any music. All these albums, 75 tracks on these albums.
Yeah.
I didn't use any music. I worked them all out. When people write to me and say, "Oh, I've heard you on YouTube playing, I don't know, Angels or whatever."
Can they buy the sheet music from you?
Can they buy the sheet music from me?
Absolutely.
And
no, you can't.
I work a key out, and I get inside the song.
Yeah, of course.
A lot of players play on top of the bands. They don't play into the band. They don't weave in and out. So occasionally I've played a solo and I've literally played a wrong note, but because of that trick, no wrong note has come out. I'm thinking, that shouldn't have. I played an A in first. You shouldn't be able to do that, you know.
Yeah,
so
it's that kind of internal pitching. If you think the note, it's going to come out. Yeah, absolutely.
So it stood me in good stead. So you can imagine when I had the accident, you know, being TV, radio, West End, got the T-shirt.
Yeah.
I was really happy. I was really happy as a player, and then I become. Most bands I joined, I became a featured soloist, and I play all the trombone solos on the Memphis Belle album. And so when I had the accident, it was devastation. I was like, what am I going to do?
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely.
And it took years. 1995, I had the accident when I fell off stage through the my chair support collapsing.
Right.
And the trombone went through here.
Oh, blimey.
Great place.
Yeah.
So that's loads of scar tissue there.
What happened to the trombone, Marcus?
I don't think the trombone got much damage. I don't think it did. I think I might have dent the slider or something, you know.
So just tell me a little bit about this thing that I've got here and how that helps you. How that helps you sort of overcome the damage on the inside of your lips, Marcus.
Okay. Even though people are very impressed with said albums, I couldn't go back into the profession because I'd lost the urgency. You go 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, but
Yeah,
I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that. With the solo things, performing to people, I could wait a beat, half a beat.
Yeah.
I could even wait a bar.
Yeah.
So I needed this. I needed this. You know, instant, urgent, 1, 2. I didn't have that.
Right.
It was delayed. And if it wasn't delayed, it was dull. And to lead a trombone section, which I wanted to become a lead player again,
Yeah.
You just have to have that. You just have to have it. There's no excuse.
Of course.
So the dream started, something to hover over the scar tissue. Now I can see you smiling, even thinking about that. Hover, scar tissue. They're not synonymous. It's such an oxymoron, it's untrue. So, but I kept it up. Something to hover over the scar tissue would help free my lips up and give that little extra percentage of vibration that I seriously needed. And cut a really big long story short, because I was selling my albums and doing radio interviews and stuff. I woke up one morning and scribbled on this scrap of paper on the side of my bed. I took this to Mick Rath, and Mick went, give me a clue. Give me a clue. Tell me which way it's up. Well, I didn't know, really. I said, well, I think that's a spring. I think that's a spring. I think that's a chin. So what he did, in a bit of exasperation, he went and got me some stuff swept up from the factory floor, probably bits of spring, bits of pipe, just bits of stuff, and he poured it out on the end of his bench. I'll leave you to it. So he come back about 40 minutes later, and I put the bits. I said, I think that's it. Just needs gluing together. Get me a soldering iron. I'll do it. He said, no, you'll burn my factory down. So from this, can you see it all right?
Yeah, just about. Just trying to work out which way round it goes. Yeah, that's yeah.
Okay. And when he soldered it together, we ended up with that.
Oh, that's the prototype. Amazing. So it looks a little bit different from that's it with the mouthpiece in.
Oh, it's like jewellery now, isn't it?
Oh,
You've
you've got a Rath screw in it. That's quite cool.
Yeah, I said to him, it needs a tightening tap, so he gave me a Rath screw.
So I want that version, Marcus.
Of course you do. But that was it. And I used it, and, well, there's a bit more. When we glued it together, off he went again to do some more work. He came back a bit longer later, and this is difficult live to tell you this, but I was crying.
Right.
And not just weeping, projectile tears. I was so... he said, what's the matter, mate? Because he knew I'd been ill and stuff. Through my fall, I damaged my C2. I can't write in my left hand. There's a few issues that I picked up from that accident.
Right.
And I'm crying. And I'm saying, it works.
Yeah, absolutely.
It works. And I said to him, I said, because he plays trombone, well, he hadn't done for many years, but so I said, here we are, look, we're gonna play a D. He goes, yeah. I went, well, that isn't a D. But I'm pitching a D. But I'm getting an F.
Right.
And obviously, I've done a lot of work on it, but every student, one of the students I taught, Paul Hillier, he said he wants two things when he came to me. I want an F. This one. That one. He wants an F.
Don't we all?
And he wants to be a lead trombone of the Ashby band.
Right.
Well, he is, and he has.
Brilliant.
And he offered me £200 for that straight away.
Right.
He said, I'll go and get the money out of the car. I'll buy it now. I said, you won't. One, it's the only one. Two, it's mine. It was designed for me.
Yeah. By you.
And then I tried it on all my students, trumpets, every instrument, and there wasn't a failure. There just wasn't a failure.
Yeah.
And then someone said, you're going to have to bring this to market. Oh, yeah. That's been fun, that has.
Yeah,
patents,
this is
pending,
that's
design.
That's the result. And
it's like jewellery, isn't it?
I must say I'm very happy with mine, Marcus.
Say it.
Yeah.
when it arrived, and I didn't want the Stratus to be, and no disrespect to any other devices out there, I didn't want it to be stabbed on a spike on a music shop wall with a little bag. I didn't want that. It's been designed with a lot of love, and it's as close to an instant result as any device out there will give you.
Oh, absolutely.
How do you feel about that?
It's spot on. I mean, very, very happy with mine, Marcus. Yeah, no, they both look smart, Marcus.
And I wanted it to be very, very special. So when the recipient musician receives Stratus, straight away they can see that there's something more behind it than selling a tin of beans, being sent home to eat them on your own. With Stratus, you do get a little bit of me. I think there's a little bit of my teaching in every Stratus that goes out. And the ones that do ask for a bit of additional help, I realise it doesn't end at opening the box. With the short Skypes and things, I've transformed many embouchures. And people say, I don't want to change my embouchure. It's microscopic alterations.
So you've got your group as well that you mentioned at the very start. That's a Facebook group, isn't it?
Yes.
Just remind me what that's called.
That's called Brass
Embouchure
Embouchure Advice.
Absolutely brilliant. I'll maybe stick a link. I'll write some stuff at the end. I'll stick a link on.
Okay.
The question just before was, and you kind of answered it. At what point did Rath kind of enter your life? That must have been before you had your accident, then.
Do you know what? No, it was after.
Oh, okay.
It was after the accident. We developed. Well, I finished. I had to find a manufacturer for Stratus after the prototype. I knew I couldn't sell it like that. And
why ever not?
I don't know. And the College of Welsh Music and Drama played a big part, because I did an embouchure lecture for Brett Baker,
right,
at the college, and I always get a little bit nervous. I still don't quite believe what's happening, and the marketing that's being done now, with advice and lots of help from marketing people that have helped me build the business.
Yeah.
Stratus is doing then what it is now. The fact that it's gone from that to jewellery, is neither here nor there. But I didn't shout about it in the early days. So really, I lost 2 years of marketing.
Right.
And so the point I'm getting at is that it's for any brass player. It's for any brass player that wants to either stay where they are, maintain, improve. So we're talking about beginners to amateurs to professionals, to weekend warriors. And a lot of players say, "Oh, I'm getting older now." The embouchure issues is never, very rarely, in my experience of helping, an age issue.
Yeah.
It's using a method that has decided to give up on you because it's been on a trajectory. So even from the day one, it's been going like that. So
right.
I can pull that back. I've got the wherewithal, and I've got the best tool in the business.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And you certainly know what, even with, I guess, without the Stratos, you certainly know what you were talking about. I remember seeing you a long time ago, I think, at a Repton Trombone Day. And you were talking about how you kind of did a little bit of jiggery pokery. I think this must have been before Stratos. You did a little bit of jiggery pokery with your muscles, and you kind of just contort your face in a certain way. Obviously, this has helped that tenfold. But you're definitely the person to go to, Marcus.
In fact, Don Lucas was there that day, and Don has contacted me and said, "Would I like to do a lecture on Zoom?"
Oh, brilliant!
Would I like to do a masterclass?
Oh, he's another trombone player with just the most gorgeous sound.
Yes, it's lovely.
Absolutely.
And at Repton, you've triggered some things there. So I'm at the Welsh College of Music and Drama.
Sorry.
And I'm doing the lecture, and this little Welsh guy comes up to me and says, "You've got it all wrong." I said, "What?" And I've just been talking to all the guys from the BBC Symphony and all the brass players, all the top people and amateurs, and met Stephen Sykes there that day.
Right, yeah.
And he tried it for a few minutes. He goes, "Wow, double E flat and not a mark, look at that." So he said I'd got it wrong. He meant on the design. So the next day he phones me up. "I've been up since 4, he said. I said, "Oh, right. I've made one. I'm 70 years old, and I'm playing like a 17-year-old. I said, "Oh, well, great." I said, well, where do we go from there then? Oh, no, you've got me wrong. He said, I don't want to take the idea off you. No. I want to help you. Yeah, let me tell you who I am. I'm the former design engineer for Hawker Siddeley. So he said, if we ever meet, I'll show you some things. And so his ideas are in the one you've got in your hand.
Right.
The one I've got on my trombone.
Yeah, the one that everyone used to buy.
Yeah, well, it was about 6 months later. I get this phone call on a rainy Monday morning. It's Mick Rath. He said, how would you like to become one of my artists? I thought, he's got the wrong number. He's got the And we had a bit of we've known each other for years.
Right.
He used to repair my trombone when I was a student.
Oh, okay.
And he said, I said, well, I'm not playing quite as good as I was when I was a session player. He said, no, he said, but you're very, very well known.
Yeah.
And he said, and I'd like to take on. So when I went to the factory to pick up my gifts, as it were, I said, is this it? Is that all there is? And there's a song by Peggy Lee called Is That All There Is? You ought to go and listen to it.
Right, yeah.
And he said, he looked at me as if he's going to say, finish your coffee, there's the door. He didn't know. He said, what do you want? I said, I'd like to work on a trombone with you. And we did, and it's called the R12. So I co-designed the trombone I'm playing, the R12 with a 481-491 slide. There's a few other people out there that claim that that position with Mick. But as far as I'm concerned, the 481-491 slide had more attention on it with me and Mick getting involved. And one of my students bought the first one, and the second one was bought by Tony Baker in Texas. So
amazing. That's brilliant stuff, Marcus. I just wondered. I mean, I don't know if you have any other pearls of wisdom just about embouchure that you think need to get out, or if you would like to just finish off. But if you're happy to, just by playing something. I'd love to hear you playing again, Marcus.
Okay. Pearls of wisdom. The embouchure is not that complicated to do. It's not, really. But because Neanderthally, physiologically, everyone apart from any damage has got the tools to have a great embouchure.
Yeah.
But what do? When we get a brass instrument, we throw all the physiology and the Neanderthal naturalness out the window. We stop whistling. If you whistle, even for a few seconds, and you keep that position up, and there's a lot of people that say, well, I can't whistle. No, but just do the shape.
Yeah.
And blow. This aches very quickly.
Yeah, of course.
And when I had to rebuild my chops, I went back into extending my knowledge of the embouchure. I realised that when people say, oh, it hurts, that isn't hurt, that's ache. And that's the call to say, we're under duress. The lips are under duress. And years ago, there used to be a comic, and there used to be cartoons in there called the numbskulls. And anything that happened to the body, the brain would get a phone call saying, you know, what's going on there? What's happening? What's happening? And so I liken that ache to the brain saying to the lips, what's going on? Oh, this guy's got this metal thing in front of his mouth. And I think we need some help. So the brain says, I'll send some blood and oxygen. And after a few minutes, the lips phone the brain up and say, where's the blood and oxygen? We're suffering here. This guy's playing all these high notes and making a hell of a noise. The brain said, I've sent it. And the lips said, well, we haven't got it. Well, of course you haven't, because you've created a mouthpiece tourniquet. You've put your foot on a hose pipe while you've been watering the garden. Try it.
I do that regularly.
So the Stratus, for the first time in your lives, guys, for this first time in your life, you've got something that will incrementally control. That's the best part for that, probably there. The best part is you can control incrementally an advance to take the weight from the top lip and share it with the chin. And you do it in such a way so that the inner muscular scaffold has time to take that weight and to self-support. And the analogy I came up with was, if a building is being held up by scaffold and you remove that scaffold, the building falls down. And that's why a lot of musicians can't play quietly, because it really needs a real concentrated embouchure.
Yeah, of course.
To be able to support itself. And the Stratus gives you time to find that inner muscular scaffold development until such times when you've developed the position and allowing the blood and oxygen. The duress I mentioned is very important. If after a concert the next day you've got another rehearsal or another gig, that duress can turn into angst, and then you get the repairing fluid called lactic acid, and the lactic acid is what you don't want. So enough duress, enough to get the blood and oxygen to flow.
Yeah.
Rest, roll your chops, let the blood and oxygen come in through the capillaries, then play. But bang, 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 bang on the lips, lactic acid. Next day, if you don't do a warm down very gently, a warm up very gently, you'll end up with 2 lots of lactic acid. And my situation is, because I've got this scar tissue, lactic acid's got no thought, it doesn't know. Lactic acid's trying to wash the scar tissue away. So I very quickly, if I'm not careful, get 2 lots of lactic acid.
Right.
And I go all...
Yeah, absolutely. We've all been there, Marcus.
I'll find a tune to play.
Yeah, amazing. Amazing. Thanks for that, Marcus.
Bit cold trombone, my
No,
friend.
no, it's absolutely fine. It sounds lovely. I mean, it's always a little bit awkward over the internet listening to instruments and whatever. But that was as good as it was going to get, Marcus. Absolutely.
Well, that's the sort of tone the trombone is capable of doing that will rip people's hearts out.
Yeah, absolutely.
And a guy used to come up to me, Alan Civil, the French horn player, and he was in the Mantovani Orchestra, which is that backing tracks from.
Okay.
And he gave me a £20 note, and he said he brought tears to my eyes. And every Christmas he'd see me in one of the shopping malls and play that for me again. I think, oh yeah, okay, right. So I used to play Fascination for him, and it used to earn me 20 quid. So there you go.
Brilliant. Wonderful. That's been great speaking to you, Marcus.
Right, well, thank you very much for inviting me and persuading me. I don't normally do things like this. I think there's a lot of my history I sort of don't even think about really now, you know. And I still like the way I played before the accident.
Right.
You know.
Well, you're still playing well, Marcus.
Very much. Well, and continue enjoying your Stratus adventure.
I will. Yeah, absolutely. And trombone in general, Marcus. Trombone in general, absolutely. Awesome. Look after yourself. Stay safe in these rather bizarre times.
And the same to you. And say thanks very much to your fan club as well, your growing fan club. And I look forward to playing or speaking to you again.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Marcus.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Nice one, Marcus.